This film is based on a true story. New York, 1982. Late at night, Robert Durst, while walking his dog, comes to a police station to report his wife Kathie missing. She hasn't been in touch for 5 days. According to Robert, the last time he saw his wife was at their lake house, and they had been arguing. In the end, Kathie decided to return to Manhattan. Robert is a realtor and heir to his father Seymour Durst's multi-billion-dollar business empire, which owns half of Manhattan. For now, the police believe that Kathie simply ran away from her husband. When Robert gets home, he calls Jim and says that Kathie is missing. Before the puzzled Jim can gather his thoughts and ask anything, Robert hangs up. Then the story takes us back to 1971. Jim helped his sister Kathie move to New York. And although she worked as a simple dental assistant, her salary was enough to rent an apartment. It would be the first time Kathie lived alone, so Jim was naturally worried, but she promised that everything would be fine. The next morning, Kathie was getting ready for work and ran into Robert in the hallway. A conversation started between them. The man immediately charmed Kathie with his sense of humor and confidence. In the present, Detective Struck takes a statement from Edward Michaels, the concierge. According to him, Kathie always left and came back alone. She was rarely seen with her husband. In the past, when Kathie was renovating her new place, Robert knocked on her door. He came for the rent, because everything in that building belonged to his family. It came as a surprise for Kathie to hear that. Wasting no time, he invited Kathie to grab a bite together at a restaurant. But the administrator didn't let them in because of the dress code: no jacket, no entry. Robert insisted that they would dine there, while refusing to wear the jacket offered by the administrator. Trying to smooth things over, Kathie told Robert that she didn't mind eating somewhere else. In the end, they got takeout and sat right on the steps outside, paying no attention to passers-by. The man said he didn't like formality, even though his father kept trying to instill it in him. Robert's mother had died long ago. It was an accident. In the present, the police search their house, which makes Robert nervous. When Detective Struck asks if he has ever hit his wife, Robert firmly says no. But according to him, lately they had been arguing a lot. He has no idea what his wife was doing after leaving for Manhattan, because he was inspecting his father's buildings in Connecticut. In the past, Robert showed up at Kathie's doorstep as suddenly as always, and gave her a yellow dress, saying that tonight they were going to a place with an unusual dress code. She didn't expect that celebrities would be there, but for Robert it was nothing out of the ordinary. Their relationship developed rapidly. Even though they hadn't known each other for long, Robert invited her to go with him to Vermont. But Kathie wasn't sure, since she had just moved to start a new life. The man said they could start a new life together. The girl promised to think about it. Still, she didn't think for long, and soon she and Robert began living together. They were madly in love. For Kathie, a girl from an ordinary family, it was more than she had ever dreamed of. It was a free life, without worries or fears. One day their dog ran away into the woods. The couple went to look for him, and Robert started imitating a dog's bark to lure the pet back. Kathie asked him to stop. It was so childish. At home, Robert threw away the dog's bowls. Noticing her beloved chopping wood in the yard as if trying to release his anger, Kathie asked what was wrong. The man said that his father wanted him to return to New York to work for him. Robert didn't like the idea at all. In the present, Detective Struck learns that Kathie had filed for divorce, but Robert refused to reach an agreement. At the police station, Kathie's friends from nursing school come in and claim that Robert had long been planning to get rid of his wife, and that the police should have started the search at the lake house. The detective objects, saying that there is a witness who saw Kathie in New York. But Gilbert Najimy, one of the women, insists that this is a lie. She had shown Kathie's photo to all the train passengers, but no one had seen her that day. In the past, Robert brought Kathie to his family's house. The head of the family, Seymour Durst, raised a toast in honor of his sons, Robert and Douglas, heirs to the company. The father expressed hope that they would learn to run the business the same way he did. Detective Struck finds it strange that Seymour Durst has made no attempt to look for his daughter-in-law, even though a month has passed. His connections and resources would have easily allowed it. Robert's lawyer contacts the police. From now on, all matters will go through him. In the past, Kathie learned from Douglas that the brother's mother had actually passed away voluntarily, and it was not an accident, as Robert had previously claimed. Douglas advised Kathie not to believe everything Robert said. On her birthday, Kathie called her brother Jim. She missed her family. The girl lied, saying she was having a great time. Finally, Robert came back. Kathie angrily asked where he had been for so many days. The man replied that sometimes he needed to spend some time away from his family. But he hadn't forgotten her birthday. At first she was upset to see a collar in the gift box. It looked like a cruel joke. But then Robert brought a dog into the room. It would be their new pet. Kathie was deeply moved, though an inner unease still lingered. Soon the couple moved into a separate house. Kathie was thrilled, unable to believe that all of it now belonged to them. The couple threw a housewarming party, Both Jim and Susan Berman attended, the latter being Robert's friend who had grown up in a gangster family. Now she was a successful writer. Jim was the first to leave the party. He still had things to do that day. In the present, Kathie's family visits Seymour Durst's office, demanding to know why he remains inactive, why he doesn't help the police. Mr. Durst seems indifferent. He refuses to continue the conversation and leaves. In the past, under his father's pressure, Robert had to change his image. Kathie said it suited him very well. But the man hated when anyone told him how to look or what to feel. At that moment he proposed to Kathie. It was unexpected, but she gladly accepted. Soon they had a modest wedding in a small family circle. The honeymoon was planned for a week later. But the mood was spoiled when Seymour suggested that Kathie's mother, Ann McCormack, split the bill. After that, he hurried to leave, saying he was late for a meeting. Robert now worked for his father's company, and it depressed him, so he preferred to waste time on trivial things. Douglas grew tired of it, but Robert didn't care. He even enjoyed annoying his brother. In the present, Robert meets Susan in a restaurant. The press portrays him as a monster, blaming him for his wife's disappearance. As a friend, Susan offers her help and calls all the major New York publications, introducing herself as Robert's official representative and declaring that his heart is broken. In the past, Kathie told her husband the happy news: she was pregnant. But Robert reacted nothing like she had expected. Even before the wedding, he had made it clear, no children. And he hadn't changed his mind, forcing Kathie to go to the hospital and take care of the problem. She didn't want to do it at all. Mary, Kathie's sister, tried to convince her to divorce Robert, that selfish man. After all, a child would give her far more love. But Kathie couldn't bring herself to do it. After that, she fell into a deep depression. Robert suggested they should go somewhere, change the scenery. It would do them good. When Kathie didn't respond, he lost his temper and almost hit her. South Salem, 1976. On Robert's initiative, the couple moved into a new house. He hoped they could start over here, just the two of them. Kathie didn't care anymore. She agreed. In the present, the police finally received the record of Robert's phone calls. His statement that he had called the penthouse that night turns out to be a lie. Everything points to Robert's involvement. In the past, a woman named Robin Hill, the housekeeper, came to the couple's home. The young woman didn't hide her envy of Kathie's life, which at first glance seemed perfect: a wealthy husband, endless opportunities. There is more than enough evidence pointing to Robert's guilt, but all of it is circumstantial, and the body has never been found. Therefore Robert is not arrested. Most likely with his money he would have hired the best lawyers and won anyway. Bedford, New York, 1999. Detective Joe Becerra receives a call from Tim Martin, who has recently been arrested. He claims to have information about the Kathie Durst case. The sister of his ex-wife, Robin Hill, who used to clean the Durst's house, is certain that Kathie's life was taken by her husband. Martin hopes that cooperating with the police will earn him leniency. 17 years have passed. Everyone has long forgotten about the Kathie Durst case, but Detective Becerra decides to request all the files related to it. In the past, Kathie told her husband she wanted to enroll in nursing courses to become independent. Robert didn't like the idea, though he didn't object, saying that maybe Kathie would finally start earning money and help the family. His words hurt her, and she stayed upset for the rest of the day. Robin couldn't help but notice it. Kathie did enroll in nursing school and became friends with Gilbert and other women. It was like a breath of fresh air for her. However, the relationship between the spouses grew worse. Robert took a mistress and didn't bother to hide it. In the present, Detective Becerra summons Robin to the police station for questioning. On the condition that the Dursts wouldn't find out, she tells him that right after Kathie's disappearance, she found personal ads belonging to Robert in the lake house. Judging by the dates, he had been doing it for years. Robert's family never cared much for him because of his strange behavior. He could start barking or growling for no reason. In the past, the man stopped giving Kathie money for her personal needs. She told him that he was just like his father, even though he tried so hard to be different. Joe Becerra visits Gabrielle Colquitt, who now lives in the house where Kathie once lived. The police never searched it, and if Gabrielle doesn't mind, Joe would like to return with his team and search the place thoroughly. The woman doesn't object. Joe won't rest until he finds out what Robert did to his wife. In the past, the couple hosted a family party to celebrate Kathie's graduation from nursing school. Robert raised a toast, mocking his wife right in front of the guests. She couldn't understand what was happening to him. Joe Becerra visits Ann and Jim McCormack, informing them that the investigation into Kathie's case has been reopened. But Ann has long lost hope. How can they fight the Dursts, the richest and most powerful people in Manhattan? People like the McCormacks have no right to justice. In the past, Seymour Durst announced his decision to hand the company over to Douglas, even though by tradition it should have been inherited by the elder son. Naturally, this angered Robert, and he didn't hesitate to show it in his usual manner. Christmas came, which the couple spent with Kathie's brother and his fiancée. Robert stubbed out his cigarette on the food in the kitchen, then told his wife they were leaving. But she wanted to stay, which enraged her husband, and in front of everyone he grabbed her by the hair. Asking her brother not to tell their mother, Kathie was forced to leave with Robert. In the car they didn't say a single word to each other. The next day the man asked for her forgiveness, explaining his behavior by saying that he had never had a happy family. To make amends, he gave Kathie a pendant. She replied indifferently that she was going to study medicine. Kathie wanted to become a pediatrician. Robert supported her, or at least pretended to. At college the girl met a handsome young man named Mark Bowen. Detective Becerra questions Edward Michaels again, the former concierge who had claimed to have seen Kathie supposedly on the night before her disappearance. Now he admits that he lied under pressure from Seymour Durst. Joe visits Struck, who is now retired, and tells him that Kathie Durst never returned to New York. And although Robert escaped responsibility 18 years ago, perhaps now Becerra will succeed where his colleague failed. In the past, Kathie and Mark began an affair. She started to push her husband away, no longer feeling anything good toward him. Only with Mark did Kathie feel alive. Everything between them developed so easily and naturally. One day after a boat ride on the lake, Robert returned without their dog. Kathie demanded to know what he had done with the pet, but the man simply ignored her. Soon the college administration informed her that the tuition had not been paid. At home, Kathie confronted her husband, and in response he mockingly advised her to ask her lover. She reminded Robert that he too had been cheating on her for years. Enraged, he beat her. This prompted Kathie to file for divorce. The lawyer warned her that the Durst family could make her life a nightmare, but the girl no longer cared. Later, she decided to gather all her documents first and came across a medical report stating that the male members of the Durst family might suffer from schizophrenia. Douglas noticed that his brother was watching him. Kathie promised Mark that she would soon get a divorce and that they could finally be together. When Robert found out about his wife's plan to divorce him, and that she had tried to use his diagnosis against him, he brutally beat her, saying that she was not going anywhere. But soon Kathie faced another blow. Without telling her, Mark had transferred to another hospital. He had been offered a job in Denver. Despite everything, Joe Becerra is determined to see the case through to the end. But things become more complicated when information about the reopened investigation leaks to the newspapers, meaning that the Dursts already know everything. Susan calls Robert, asking why he has been ignoring her calls for so long. Has he forgotten his best friend, the one who knows more about him than anyone else? But in truth, Susan is calling because she needs money. In the past, Kathie went to her mother seeking support, and in tears advised her daughter not to lose faith in Robert and to hope for the best, and believe that people could change. Suddenly Kathie's husband called again, asking her to give him one more chance. They could spend the weekend together at the lake house. She decided to agree. During that time, Robert had bought a new dog, again. Gilbert called Kathie and invited her to the party. Since Robert had gone somewhere, Kathie thought that meeting her friends would be a good idea. Gilbert advised her not to forgive Robert. Men like him never change. When Robert called, Kathie, already drunk, picked up the phone and told him everything she thought of him. She was determined to leave her husband and return to the lake house to tell him that it was over. But after that night, no one ever saw her again. In the present, Jim called Detective Becerra and advised him to talk to Susan Berman. But it turned out that she had already been dead for a week. Someone had attacked her, and it was not a robbery. Joe Becerra personally informs Kathie's family about it, promising that sooner or later Robert will answer for everything. Then the voiceover explains that Robert Durst was never charged, and Kathie's body has still not been found. Kathie's mother filed a $100 million lawsuit against Durst but died in 2015. Her family is still waiting for justice. Robert Durst received $65 million for his share of the business, while the multi-billion-dollar empire is now run by his brother, Douglas. Susan Berman never got the chance to testify. In 2001, while living in Texas, Robert took the life of his neighbor. It was ruled self-defense. At the time of filming, Robert Durst was awaiting trial in prison for taking the life of Susan Berman.